to the Aspire Technology Partners Techcast, a technology trends webinar series. This series is brought to you by Cisco. Aspire Technology Partners is a Cisco Gold certified partner with Cisco Master specializations in collaboration, security, cloud, and managed services. I'm your host, Josh Dolby. The meeting is now being recorded. So again, just one of the many security features that you're going to see and be able to take advantage of in Webex, which makes Webex an enterprise-style tool. So the topic of today's Techcast is really getting started with Webex. Again, we have a lot of folks out there who are taking advantage of the free access for 90 days, as many of us are cloistered, working from home, trying to be very productive, and we have a lot of small to medium-sized organizations who either haven't had a good conferencing solution or have been using sort of a freemium style tool and recognize, hey, now we need something that is going to support our business in a true, secure, scalable way. So Aspire is here to help. Our teams are able to provide you with access to Webex, and what we're doing here today is to walk you through how to get started with Webex. Now, today's team on the call, we'll have, of course, myself, Josh Dolby, out of Cambridge, Massachusetts, Salina Neuhaus, who's our manager of customer experience. Good morning, Salina.
Good morning.
And Elizabeth FitzGerald, who's one of our customer experience leads out of Eatontown, New Jersey. Good morning, Elizabeth.
Hi, good morning.
Now, again, we've had really sort of an overwhelming set of communications from folks reaching out saying, hey, I'd like to have access to Webex. Before we get into it, I'd like to just sort of reinforce why you may want to use Webex. Number one, of course, Webex is over 50% of the global conferencing market. So I know we see some interesting stories out there in the news about some of the other tools that are happening, a lot of the freeware style tools that are being leveraged and utilized out there, frankly, that are not all that secure. Webex is, call it this, the 800-pound gorilla in the room. Webex is a global network that supports access to over 220 countries around the world. Webex is available in multiple languages, and the cloud in a normal month sees over 6 billion minutes of usage. This month, with the unprecedented spike in utilization, the Webex cloud was at 9.4 billion minutes of usage as of Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern time. So my expectation is that the network is over 1 billion minutes as of today. Over 10 billion minutes as of today. Again, this is a highly secure, highly scalable network. Not only with security from a network perspective built in, leveraging Cisco's security capabilities with Talos, again, FIPS compliance, HIPAA capabilities, GDPR, ISO, etc., but also with a lot of capabilities at the site level for those of us who are business users to take advantage of and control how people can access our meetings. So you might have seen some things in the media about certain freemium style tools where external sort of Instagram bots are dropping in, or unauthorized users are popping in and sharing inappropriate content or trying to mess people's meetings up. With Webex, you have the controls to make sure that that doesn't happen. As well, Cisco's privacy statements and the way that Cisco looks at or does not look at the information that are in your meetings makes Webex the most secure option on the market for conferencing. That's the boring stuff. Let's take a look, and I assume, so either Salina or Elizabeth will sort of lead us through some of this here, but let's talk about getting started with Webex, right? For those of you who may be watching this as a recording, you might have reached out to us and said, look, I need a way to support my school, my startup, my medium-sized business. I want to make sure that while people are quarantined or cloistered and working from home, maybe they can take some training. We can make sure our meetings happen. We can get to our students, things like that. But in many cases I'm seeing, the folks reaching out are saying, look, I'm a business person. I'm not necessarily a technical leader. So how do I make this happen? So as we discussed this, so Salina, Elizabeth, what are the 2 or 3 details? Let's just say that I have a small business right now and I am that person. Will role play a little bit. What do I need to give you so that you can get started to create some WebEx accounts for myself in my organization?
Hi. So to get started, all we need is a full name and email address of somebody who's going to be the administrator for the site or for the organization. And then we'd like, what would you like your desired WebEx space to be called? What we call a URL. Do you want your site to be abc.webex.com? Do we want your site to be the new school at webex.com? Whatever it is that you want to be called, typically will go along with what your website is called. We need to make sure that it's available. But those are really the only 3 things: full name, administrative email, and what do you want your site to be called? And with those 3 things, we can get you started with a WebEx account in less than 30 minutes.
So that's, let me just ask this. So how you describe it, josh'scompany.webex.com. Do I have to have the .webex.com?
No. Well, you do have to have that. It automatically gets associated with whatever naming convention you put in the beginning. All sites have webex.com.
Okay, so like this meeting that we joined, right, has, aspire.webex.com. So my company would be josh'scompany.webex.com, for example.
Correct.
Okay. So from there, I assume I'm going to get some sort of an account, just like when you create a new email account, right? You go in someplace and you log in. What does that look like? How do we do that? Do we want to pass the ball to somebody that can show us how that looks?
So, well, let's talk a little bit before we pass the ball. I think Elizabeth will go through some of that. But so when we get it and we set it up, how do you know it's set up? So the customer success team, we have some best practices in place, and we do follow up with you with a list of all the things you need to know. What's your site name? How do you get on? It's called a welcome letter. We send it off to you, and then we set a follow-up meeting to go over it with you. That welcome letter includes resources for your own self-help. It includes all of our contact information so that we're here throughout the journey of WebEx for you. And then it also includes like a top 10, what are the things that you have to do to get your site set up, and what are the things we recommend you do to provide the best exceptional experience for your customers and your end users. So you get a document that kind of walks you through that. In addition to that, Elizabeth, myself, or somebody else on the team will follow up and review with your administrator what they have to do.
Okay, so there are resources. So again, I get signed up, I get kind of an email with some resources, and then obviously we have, now wait, if I'm not mistaken too. So again, and the purpose of this recording is to kind of share some of this information to make sure people know. I think you're also doing some other webinars that you're probably recording that will help my users get using WebEx. Is that the case? Or is that just a vicious rumor?
Nope, that is true. So not only do we send you the welcome letter with all the resources you need to get started, you have our contact information, we do some follow-ups, but in addition to that, we do provide continuous training throughout the experience. Right now, we've increased that level of training because of the need for many people to have their end users being remote. So we are doing trainings Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays right now that are live to the public, to our customers, just to make sure that all those users who are out there who are getting WebEx accounts actually know how to use them, how to join meetings, how to schedule meetings, and the functionalities that they have within the meetings.
Okay, so my users, So again, as a business owner, I may not be super familiar with this, right? So that's why we're here. And I would assume my users, they probably use FaceTime. They probably use other sort of consumer style solutions, whether that's a, Skype or a Zoom sort of situation. But these live sessions and then some of these links here will help them figure out kind of where to get the downloads and how to run a meeting, how to schedule a meeting. Does it matter if people are Mac users or PC users?
It does not matter.
Does it matter if they're an Android user?
It does not matter. You can join Webex anywhere, at any time, from any place or any device.
Interesting. What if they're just
Did I
going to
get all
call
the
in? What if I've got people? What if I've got people who are at a site, or again, for whatever reason, they're super remote? I've got a couple of users who have flip phones, and they want to just call in. Is that do they have to punch in a bunch of numbers or anything like that in order to get into our conferences?
They do have to call in with a number, but that's available in the invitation.
So it's got like a quick click sort of thing where you click it and then it just dials all the things, the numbers, right?
Webex is just a phone call away.
I like it. I like it. Okay, this is very useful. So should we go out and take a look at some of the sort of sites, what it looks like for an administrator?
Yes, I am going to pass that on to Elizabeth. I will see you guys on the next Techcast as I have to run to another one.
Thank you.
You're in great hands with Elizabeth and Josh.
Elizabeth, I'm going to pass you the ball.
Okay.
And let you sort of share how some of this works for a newly minted administrator. And again, I will play the role of newly minted administrator if I may ask you some questions.
Absolutely. And I just want to kind of build a little bit on what Salina had said. So as we go through the beginning process of building your site, we will have your admin name and email address, and we will follow up and actually have a meeting where after we send the welcome letter, we're going to step through each piece of it to make sure you understand all the different functionality and capabilities that you can set up in Webex. And then what we'll also do is step through what we call Control Hub, which is the admin portal to your Webex site. So what I'd like to do now, Josh, it's okay, I'm going to share my screen and show you what that admin portal site looks like.
Okay. Now, is this something I have to download to get access to this admin situation, administration
Nope.
panel?
As soon as we've created your site, because we have your admin email and address, as the admin, you'll have access to log in, and you'll come right here to your site. So this is what kind of, I'm showing you a Spire site, so a lot of this stuff has already been obviously set up before. But I just kind of wanted to go through a little bit with you some of the things that we highlight when we start talking to an admin in terms of, how to get, once the site is up, how do we get the users on the site? And then how do the users get their privileges set up, et cetera? And then just some of the other pieces if you're looking to set up your Active Directory or single sign-on. There's places to go within this admin portal to get that all set up. So let's go real quickly. Once you have your site set up, as an admin, obviously you want your users to have a license to be able to start using Webex.
Right.
So in here, there's different ways to do that, actually. You can manage your users right here. You can actually add them one by one, or you can upload a file. And we'll walk you through that as people need help doing that. And so they can add them all together. And then, oh, sorry, go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, no, so question. So again, as a small business, right, when you talk about Active Directory, that may not be something I'm really using. So let's just say I have 25 of my therapists, let's say, who are going to provide remote counseling services, to continue their practices, let's say, while we're all remote. So if I just had their email addresses, so I would click Manage Users and hit Manually Add Users, okay? And then I can just enter people's email addresses in here?
Yep. You can enter them right in here, and they'll add them to your site automatically. Just click Next.
And
Why
they
don't I
will get like an email from Webex saying, set up your new account?
Yes. Basically, it'll say your account is ready for you to go in and activate. So you'll be able to use a link in that email, and the users will be able to go in and start using their account right away.
Excellent. So that's, okay, so I log in here, I go to users, manage users, and then I can add them in. And again, there's a spreadsheet option there too, or I can import from a spreadsheet if I have, depending on the number of users. And then I'm going to see them all here. So right now, this all shows everybody's active status.
Yeah.
I assume that that means these folks have already received the email and clicked to sort of log in and get started. Will they have to create their own passwords?
Yes, they will have to create their own passwords to get in.
Okay. Great. And when I add them, I believe that there's an option here for WebEx and WebEx Teams.
Yes.
Can you tell me
So as you, oh, sorry.
a little bit about what the difference is?
Yeah.
A little bit?
So basically, you can go in and assign privileges. And privileges is really whether you're going to give each user access to which platform. So WebEx Meetings, WebEx Teams. WebEx Meetings is your meeting platform where you'll gather and collaborate in a meeting format. And Teams is more of a persistent messaging platform where you can collaborate and create spaces for that messaging.
Okay, so and I can give them both, and
Yeah.
so, okay, so they can meet with meetings where they have groups of people, and then Teams is maybe like, again, like if I'm an iPhone user, like iMessage, where I have groups of people in a chat and we're sending pictures and information back and forth?
Absolutely. That's what Teams is all about. It's a great way to collaborate and keep the data in one spot versus having tons of email go back and forth within a group of people. Teams is a great way to keep that collaboration in one place. You can upload files there, and you'll have that conversation be persistent, and it'll stay in that one spot.
Excellent. And I assume it's also secure because WebEx is secure.
Yeah.
So the last item here is calling, which I don't think we'll get into, but it looks like WebEx also offers a phone service. So if I need to give people phones, you know, for them to dial normal phone numbers, I could do that here as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So
Okay.
when we add users here, they're going to get an email from WebEx saying, get started with your account. As an administrator, we can see all of the features and so forth here. Do I have to turn anything else on if I have a user, they receive the email, do I have to do anything here for them to be able to like start a meeting, or if they, maybe we have Outlook, if they need to integrate it for scheduling in their Outlook, do I have to turn any other features on, or is that all something they will be able to do on their own?
So there are other features in terms of integrating with the Outlook. You need to make sure that the user has downloaded productivity tools and the desktop app. And the way they can do that is, I'm going to flip over to the site. And this is my aspire.webex.com site. So once your user has an ID and password, they'll be able to click on josh'scompany.webex.com, and they'll be brought to their own homepage and their own site. And here is where you can direct them to download. They'll need that Meetings desktop app.
Okay.
And the productivity tool in order to integrate to your Outlook.
So they
and then here's some
they just go right to the site themselves, our josh'scompany.webex.com site, and they go in here and they go to downloads, and this is where everything sort of lives?
Yes, if they have admin rights to their own laptops and desktops, they can actually do the download themselves. If they don't, as the administrator, you'll have to push that out to your users.
Okay. And so this shows mobile apps as well. So again, my users, so a school I was talking to, all the teachers had iPads.
Okay.
They could download the mobile app, and can they schedule and run meetings from the mobile app too?
Absolutely. The mobile app is very robust. You can schedule, join, and participate in meetings, and even share content from your phone or your iPad.
Can you do video from the mobile devices?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so when my users, so again, as the business owner who's now this administrator, which is not a normal role I play, right?
Mm-hmm.
My biggest concerns are, okay, what do I do next? How do I make sure that my new users can get what they need? And it sounds like they're going to get the email. They create their own password, just like they would with anything else online, right? And then they sign in and they go to this downloads page and they can get anything that they need. PC, Mac, mobile devices, all of those little downloads are here inside of the site. So it's sort of one-stop shopping, if you will.
Absolutely, very easy.
And then if they need to, when they need to set up meetings, again, they're fully empowered to do everything. And I think you also already have another live public session that you're doing later today and that you have sort of ongoing and maybe some recordings to show users how to run meetings, how to host and schedule and run meetings. Is that also accurate?
It is correct. We're doing them Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays now, and they are live webinars. They're considered end-user training. It's a basic 101 training where we will teach the end users how to schedule and join meetings from the URL, from their Outlook calendar, and even review the desktop app as well. And then we go into a meeting itself, and we show the users how to run a meeting as a host and the different host functionality within the meeting, what the icons do, how to turn audio on and off, how to share content, etc. Everything you really need to know to be able to schedule, join, and run a successful meeting.
That's really awesome. How often are you doing these types of open sessions?
We're doing them 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays right now, and we do have recordings available if the timing doesn't work for your end users that we can forward to you of previous sessions.
That's excellent. So what are the other things that you have administrators, new administrators who maybe haven't used it before? What are things that people commonly ask? I mean, how do I add users? How do I know if people are using it?
Right.
Like that?
That's a good question. How do I know who's using it? How do I know if they're actually using it? And we direct them to this section here called Analytics.
Okay.
And Analytics is just going to give you a lot of different metrics in terms of, oops, I got kicked out already, in terms of your meeting usage, who's using the meeting, who's the unique host, how many participants are joining the meeting, etc. As I log back in here. And what Aspire does do with our customers, and we meet with them on a quarterly basis, where we'll take those analytics and do a little digging a little deeper to kind of analyze where they are in terms of their usage and be able to kind of give some feedback. Let me go back in, sorry.
Okay.
We'll be able to give them some feedback and help in terms of if they want to increase their usage, increase their adoption, what tips we can do to help with that.
Okay. Because, I think that makes sense. It's important to see that people are, they have the service and that they're using it. So that's something that came up. Right. So, okay, so we would just go over here to analytics.
Right here into analytics. Mm-hmm. There we go. This will also show you how they're joining in terms of their audio. Are they joining over? So this will give us, just pick one real quick.
And of course, you have super admin, so you can see all kinds
I
of
do.
things.
I'm sorry. I do have super admin
okay.
capabilities, so I can kind of see what's going on in the different customers. And that way it gives me a little bit of intel in terms of how I can help them with their adoption and usage. But you'll see up here at the top right, I'll be able to see meeting usage, messaging, which is Teams, how many people are actually involved and active on Teams messaging as well. But this gives us a nice breakdown. They do a really nice job having a dashboard at the top where you can see how many meetings for a certain time period. This is showing a default of 30 days. How many meetings had video enabled, the total minutes for the time period, how many unique hosts. And these little numbers next to it, they'll either be green or orange, and green will be showing you what is an increase based on a previous period, so a previous 30 days, and orange might show you an actual decrease. But there's really a lot of great metrics in here for analytics to take a look at how people are joining, their location. You can kind of scroll down here and see the participants, your top hosts, etc. It really kind of gives you a good idea of who's using the platform, how they're using it, how many people are joining, how many people are hosting, and you can actually even customize your date range here, which is great. So we will kind of touch base on this for the admins a little bit. But another question I do get a lot, Josh, is sometimes they'll say to me, their user will contact them that they had a problem in a meeting, their audio wasn't working or they couldn't get their video working, and this is where we kind of talk about the troubleshooting. So if you go into troubleshooting, you're able to actually go find, if you have that meeting number or an email address, you can go find the meeting. Change this.
So this lets me actually look for a specific user. So let's say that you and I are working together and you say, you know, I saw, I don't know, something around a certain meeting. We could go in here and I could search for the specific user. And I think I'm just Dolby at this far. Yeah, remove the J from the front of my email address.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. And then we would be able to see any and all meetings that users have. Is it just the meetings that have hosts?
Yeah. So then you can actually go into any one of these meetings and take a look at the participants, what their audio was like. If anyone had any problems, you can see over here, the chart will show you. You can look and see if there are any issues with video. Everything looks green here, so everything was good. Sharing, and any details here. Where they're coming in from, the IP address, etc. So if they have a specific meeting that had trouble, they can actually go into that meeting and kind of do a little more analysis and see what happened.
And I think we're going to probably look at this in another webinar in a little bit more detail and talk through some of the situations that some of our engineers have seen, you know, why, you know, again, what happens over a network. But this is pretty powerful, right? We can see, right, what the connections look like for everybody. This is pretty wild.
Yeah.
Wait, this is this meeting right now.
Yeah, I think so.
That's very cool. So we can actually look at meetings happening real time. Again, we'll talk about this on another session. So we wanted to make sure to share information so that our new administrators can get rolling with this service. Is there anything else that we would want them to look at here? I mean, services or places, what do those things do?
Absolutely. So let's look at services. So one of the things we do talk to the admins about, and I'm going to go right into meeting and sites, is configuring their site.
Okay.
And a lot of the configuration is defaulted for you, but we'll kind of step through some of the configuration and talk about some different site options, some of the gotchas that we've kind of learned along the way, some of the different checkboxes that need to be enabled, and then even kind of go through and talk to them about kind of some of the different options that they can choose here. Integrations, whether they want, how they want their personal rooms, if people want personal rooms, et cetera. So there's a lot of different questions that we can kind of go through and help them set up their site configuration the way they want it.
Yeah, this looks like, now this, for me as a new administrator, this part looks scary. There's a lot of stuff here that I'm not really sure. So do you have like a quick best practices that you can just say, look, do these things or don't do those things?
We do have some best practices, yeah, that we have set up and kind of taken note of. Some of the features that need to be enabled in order to have the best experience, and we go through that when we walk through this with the admin.
Okay, that's great. So I don't have to try to learn what all these checkboxes mean, right?
No, that's definitely not.
Awesome.
We'll walk you through
that's
it.
really good.
Yeah.
That's really good. So just to recap, the important things here for the new administrator are the users panel, which is where I go to add people, and I can just put their email address in the manual option.
Yep.
Right, and then I can see everybody. So I can see who's signed in and considered active. I assume too. So if I have employees like sort of move on or something like that, I can deactivate them here too.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So that, and then analytics, which is sort of the overall reporting to show me, are people using it? How many meetings are they having? Things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then if we need to look at a meeting, if somebody reported any issue, we would take advantage of the troubleshooting tab, which shows me sort of that nice chart showing the current meetings happening as well as past meetings. How far back does that troubleshooting go?
It's a good question. I think it's only, is it a few months? Usually I'm asked for something that's pretty recent. So we can look back. Looks like, yeah, it's only about a month of data.
So in this, I get about a month of data. So again, if somebody says, oh, I had this happen or that happen, I could go and check here. Or again, hopefully as the business owner, I'm going to appoint one of my users. Yeah, how do I make somebody else an administrator? If we work together, let's say, and I'm busy with other things, can I make you an administrator?
Absolutely. So you can go in at any time and pick somebody. And then right here in administrator roles, you can decide even what kind of administrator you want to make them. Full admin privileges will give them the privileges to do any kind of edits to configuration, adding users, anything that can be done with the site is that full admin. But you can also give them read-only if you want them just to be able to see what's going on without making any changes.
Oh, that's really great. So before we completely step back from this, because I think these are the basics, right? For the new administrator, getting it, or the new business user admin, getting in, adding users, knowing that they're going to get an email and they set themselves up and that they can get all their downloads, right? And that they can attend a whole other session with you, so the users know how to use Webex. That's the user area. Analytics, so I can see that people are using it, how many meetings they're having, things like that. Troubleshooting, so if we have to go in and look at anything, which I probably will get one of my technical friends to help me with that. What does devices mean? What's that all about?
So devices, if you have something like Webex boards that you are going to be registering, this is where you'll register them in here. And then what's great is you'll be able to actually see what's going on with the devices. And when you go into analytics, you'll also be able to look at some metrics in terms of how the devices are being used, how often they're being used, how many hours, etc. So you'll be able to get an activation code from right in here in order to link your device.
So this is going to let me add conference room devices as well. So I can create users who have Webex accounts, and then I can create devices which people can use when we go back to the office, which we're all hoping is sooner as opposed to later, but respecting all appropriate parameters.
Right.
These devices are Cisco devices that I would put in my conference room and then be able to take advantage of a higher quality video and audio experience.
Yes, absolutely.
as opposed to just using my laptop camera or just using my iPad camera. I could use something a little bit more powerful.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
That's very interesting.
Okay.
So let's step back. This has been, I think, a great overview of the necessary items to get started for an administrator. Let's hop back over. We've just got a few minutes left. I don't want to put everybody, take everybody too far. Again, the big items here are, as a new administrator, you're going to log into admin.webex.com, which is where you're going to be. Information that we need to get people started are their name, their email address, and their preferred site name. They'll get kicked off that way. It started that way. And then everything they need is really inside of either that administration portal or inside of their WebEx site as it starts for their users in order to begin creating and hosting meetings. I mean, is there anything I'm missing that people need outside of these two sort of places?
No, and we're here to help step you through the whole journey. Know that once you have signed up with Aspire, even as a trial, you have access to our customer success team. And if you have any questions or need any training or need to be walked through the admin control hub or even just walk through how to schedule a meeting, please feel free to contact us. But that's what we're here for. We're here to help with that.
So we have actually a question that Pam asks, is there a limit? And it's a great question, actually. Is there a limit? So a lot of the free tools that they use, that I can have two people in it, it kicks somebody off if somebody else joins, or, it's a one-on-one. Is there a limit to the size of the audience or the group that we could have in our meetings?
I believe the limit is 200. Is that correct?
200?
Yeah, I believe it's 200 right now.
So it's not 3, it's not 5.
I have to double check, but I want to say 200.
Okay, so that just sort of tells me a little bit more that, again, WebEx is built for sort of business scale, right? So if we wanted to have a large scale session. So now, Elizabeth, we're using Event Center today. If I wanted to have a one-way broadcast and broadcast to maybe all of my customers or all of my employees, whatever it may be, can you give me a quick idea of the benefit of using Event Center instead of Meeting Center?
Absolutely. So with Event Center, it's more, you need to look at Event Center as a one-to-many type of scenario. WebEx Meetings is designed for collaboration. It's designed for everyone to be in the meeting and to be part of the meeting in audio, in presenting, and being able to share content. That's what a WebEx meeting is all about. That's the design. But a WebEx event is more designed as a little bit more of like an announcement or lecture type of platform. So if you're looking to share content without maybe collaborating with your attendees, but you're looking to share or teach or educate, WebEx event is a great way to do so. You can have your participants post questions in the Q&A panel. You can have many different panelists like we had today. You, myself, Salina, we were all panelists, so we could all be part of the presentation, and we all had audio and could share content. And so that's kind of the main difference in terms of the event versus meeting. Meeting is really designed that everybody is collaborating, whereas event is more a certain group of people are actually presenting, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. It's like an auditorium versus a standard sized meeting room.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. So, and of course, if people want to know more or learn more about how to run webinars and events, that's something that they could talk to us about as well, I assume.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been doing some event training on the fly with different customers just to make sure they're up to speed with using it. Some customers we have were only used to using WebEx meetings, and now that we're all kind of working remotely, they want the ability to use WebEx events as well. And so we've been walking it through them with how to train them to do that as well. So we're here to help with that too.
That's excellent. So, of course, as we mentioned a few times, you have some upcoming webinars, and these links will continue to populate. Monday, was it Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday?
Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Monday, so I added the Thursday, sorry. So
You did
Monday,
add the
Wednesday,
Thursday.
Friday, at 4 o'clock,
Mhm.
our team is running a public webinar about using WebEx. So that's going to be more for, again, our host users. So not necessarily administrators, but getting my users using
Right.
WebEx.
Absolutely.
And then there's
It's
this other
the
link,
end user training.
end user training. Then there's this other link, help.webex.com, which is a public link that anybody can go to in order to learn more about using WebEx and all the features and so forth. There's a lot of information there, though, so sometimes it's easier to maybe come to a webinar first and sort of watch, or even watch the recording and sort of see a quick encapsulated basics presentation. And then if people have questions, they can go to help.webex. And then there are also recordings there as well.
Yes, Cisco has a great library of pre-recorded classes on the different platforms, some basic classes, some advanced classes, classes on meetings, events, using the boards, remote workers. There's a bunch of different classes that you can access just by going to that link.
Outstanding. Well, so I'm going to step out of my questioning role here. So our Techcast, we've moved to a weekly Techcast while most of us are heavily working from home for at least a few weeks, if not the foreseeable future. So what we want to do is we want to share useful information about supporting remote work. Right, there are a lot of challenges. Our COO sent out a note this morning, which is something that we've been talking with a lot of customers, and that's a way to keep our users, we're not sitting next to each other anymore, right? We're all really remote, even more safe, because we look at things, and again, some of the technologies listed here, like Umbrella, Ant, and Duo, that are about securing your highly mobile workforce. We need to all make sure that our users can obviously do things like collaborate. So we have Webex Meetings, Webex Teams, Webex Calling. We need to make sure that they can stay connected to the office, so whether that's an any connected VPN or a Meraki teleworker device, and that those workers' information, business information, is secured properly. So whether it's multi-factor authentication with something like Duo or advanced malware protection, so that anything that lives on my machine, if I'm downloading a file, right, and that file has some malicious code, that code that's trying to jump back to our data centers, back through our VPN gateway into the rest of our network, and can help us trace where these things have gone and what's going on. Tools like Umbrella, of course, recursive DNS, so that any strange link I click on, because somebody may be spoofing Elizabeth's email address, and Elizabeth says, hey, Josh, make sure to make this big cash transfer to this random company that you've never heard of. That don't worry about it, please just do it for me, right? And I click that link. That's where some of these Cisco technologies come in to help protect us. Because again, it's harder for us to maybe communicate while we're working remote. I didn't pick up the phone and call Elizabeth and say, hey, Elizabeth, did you really want me to transfer that money? So we're working to supply you with information about the different Cisco technologies that can secure your remote workers, as well as help them be productive, keep them connected. We always recommend too, right? Do some of those virtual happy hour style sessions and make sure that everybody stays connected. Video is really important. So again, with grace, we all expect that we're going to get a little bit more comfortable and meet more members of the family, possibly, or hear from our pets and other loved ones as those pets are supporting us and our loved ones are also working from home or learning from home. So we have a whole series of Techcasts coming up, and like I said, we're working these weekly. So aspiretransforms.com/techcasts. Securing remote workers. This will be a really interesting one. Robert Costanza's got some really, really interesting ideas about security. Very, very clever gentleman. And again, our practice director for security. Then we'll be talking about meeting the application and data needs of remote workers. So Kevin Leahy, again, another really interesting topic. I expect to learn a lot there. Keeping connected to our customers when working remote, working with one of our Aspire account managers, putting him in the hot seat and saying, hey, how are you staying connected to people? What are the tools that you're using? I expect to hear a little bit about Webex, of course, there. Business stability and continuity, so leveraging managed services. When your team can't really be on site, how can you make sure that everything is accessed correctly and still accessible, and code versions are kept up and so forth. So managed services with Aspire coming into play there. And then we will as well have Elizabeth back on our program with special guest speaker, Mr. Derek Odie, who's one of our TSAs, to talk about analytics and troubleshooting tools with Webex and other video capabilities, because as you have more people working remote, and we're seeing spikes, significant spikes. We're seeing people double the number of meetings and video meetings that they're having. It's good to know what the tools are, so if users have questions or issues, our teams can support them appropriately. Again, Aspire offers you so many advantages as a partner. So we're focused on integrating and transforming your business from a technology perspective, providing you with the right tools and information. We have an incredible set of operations teams here, whether it is that managed services team, or we're working with you from professional services, or even training and customer success teams. So working to truly team with our customers' organizations. And then again, we always want to be putting new and emerging technology information and the best tactics and techniques for deploying those technologies into your existing organization and business practices. So not just putting the technology out there because it's cool, although I think it really is cool, but making sure that your users and your organization is able to absorb and adopt and adapt. So for feedback and to get started with us, again, if you'd like to get access to a Webex account, if you'd like to become a new Webex administrator and put some of these things Elizabeth has taken us through into practice, you can reach out to us, sales@aspiretransforms.com, Dolby@aspiretransforms.com, of course, that Techcast link, aspiretransforms.com/techcasts for the upcoming sessions. I'm going to stop this and end the recording and say thank you to everybody who's here to participate live. Thank you to those folks who are watching recorded. We ask that and hope that everybody stays safe and healthy and stays connected while we are working remote.
Thank you for joining the Aspire Technology Partners Techcast. For more information about us, please visit www.aspiretransforms.com or call 732-847-9600 to speak to one of our experts. For Aspire Technology Partners, this is Josh Dolby.